There are many things that tie Louisiana to our French-speaking friends here in France and neighboring Belgium. This summer we visited here examining a number of those relationships. An architect, an artist, a model, and a gospel singer. People from both sides of the Atlantic who've built a bridge of friendship out of the foundations of our unique French heritage.
The unique relationships between France and Louisiana were given international attention recently when Governor-elect Edwin Edwards returned to the country of his origin, accompanied by 600 members of the press, contributors, and friends. It was on one level an extravagant fundraiser, bringing in more than $4 million to his campaign coffers. On another level, it was a masterful public relations gesture. Tonight, we'll examine the people, places, and events that make the French connections to Louisiana so special. Just last month, these cultural, historical, and business connections between France and Louisiana formed the foundation for an unusual and profitable political event, an event that gained national and international attention.
It's the instructions on how to ride the subway in Paris, and it's compliments of Jack.
Governor-elect Edwin Edwards, fresh from his stunning election victory last October, but nearly $5 million in debt, left New Orleans International Airport January 19th with more than 600 friends and supporters for a trip called A Return to Our Roots. Most of the participants, except for about 100 legislators and a large contingent of reporters, were paying $10,000 each for a ticket on one of the two chartered jumbo jets. The trip, brainchild of Edwards' campaign manager, Brother Marion, was billed as a French pilgrimage, a massive public relations and campaign financing gimmick which used Louisiana's French roots as its draw, and it worked.
We have over 620 people and no shows, and everybody's happy and having a good time. And I think we'll get to Paris and enjoy ourselves and also have an opportunity to do some serious things.
The group wasn't on French soil more than a couple of hours before Louisiana's Cajun governor was a focus of a solemn ceremony at the historic Arc de Triomphe, where he laid a wreath proclaiming all French and Louisianians cousins.
In the name of Père Marquette, Bienville and Iberville, Cavalier de la Salle, and Louis XIV, who once was our king also, and Lafayette and Foch and de Gaulle, and all the valiant defenders of liberty, equality, and fraternity, from your land and ours, I now lay this wreath and pray that his presence here will forever attest to the friendship, the brotherhood, and the affection between the people of Louisiana and their ancestral home of beautiful France. Vive la France, vive la Louisiane.
But lest anyone think the entire trip was to be a somber reflection on our French heritage, the next stop for the group offered a stunning contrast. A Louisiana group brought in their first Parisian dawn with dinner and a show at the infamous Lido, letting the bon ton rouler Parisian style. Most of the organizational details for the governor-elect's visit were worked out by the France-Louisiana Association. The group staged a magnificent Parisian feast for the governor and his entourage. It was here that Edwards did something he rarely does: drink, part of a special ceremony inducting the governor-elect and other state officials on the trip into a French wine society, the Compagnon de Beaujolais.
I'll see y'all next week.
Not one Louisiana connection was left unexplored in the governor's return to his roots. Gospel singer John Littleton was a centerpiece of a special mass at the magnificent Cathedral of Notre Dame, where he mixed his Louisiana Baptist upbringing with more traditional French religious music for an interesting, if unusual, Catholic mass.
Everybody with me now. Holy, holy. That's it.
Earlier in the trip, Edwards proclaimed a childhood desire to become king and said a dinner at Versailles would be a wish fulfilled.
C'est l'aubade qui est réservée aux hautes personnalités en présence à Versailles.
Ça, c'est magnifique. But listen to that. That's really fantastic. Very few commoners are welcome like that.
One of the chief attractions of Edwards' trip to France was glamour and the proximity to power. Nothing typifies this more than tonight's dinner at Versailles.
But I would have to say that the soul, the heart, the mind, the person that would not have been impressed by the function at the palace at Versailles, just as the person who is cold and unfeeling cannot be impressed.
The next morning, the group split up, some going to Belgium, others remaining in Paris, and about half of the entourage journeying to the Riviera and the gambling casinos of Monte Carlo.
You know, I spent more time in Notre Dame than I did at the crap table.
Edwards has made no secret of his penchant for gambling and taking risks. In this case, he came out a winner at the dice tables to the tune of $15,000. On his return to Paris, the governor-elect tended to some of the serious business on the trip, meeting with French President Francois Mitterrand and expressing his gratitude for the French involvement in the 1984 World's Fair to be held in New Orleans.
We spent about 25 minutes talking with the president. He was very cordial, and we extended to him and to the people of France an invitation to visit the expo in New Orleans. We thanked him for the participation by the French government for the pavilion which the French people will have there. We also expressed appreciation for the support they've given us in promoting the French language in Louisiana.
The Edwards trip to France cultivated more interest in Louisiana among French citizens. It was evident that a great deal of interest already exists. That fascination was vividly displayed at the premiere of a new French movie, La Louisiane. The opening of the film was timed to coincide with the Edwards trip. Filmed on location near Baton Rouge, the movie stars Margot Kidder and is an historical drama in the vein of Gone with the Wind. At the premiere party, many in the group confessed they couldn't understand the French dialogue, but enjoyed the musical score by Baton Rouge composer Valerian Smith. On the final day of the visit, a courtesy call to Mayor Jacques Chirac of Paris and an exchange of gifts prompted a round of speeches in French and English. The progress of each day's events was duly recorded by the press, those from Louisiana on the trip, the network television crews in Paris, and reporters from national and international publications. The final press conference of the trip was held at the residence of the American ambassador, where Edwards indicated plans for a new Renault factory to be built in Louisiana were still up in the air.
We visited this afternoon with some of the officials of Renault. Bottom line is no firm decision has yet been made. The only thing firm that I came away with is that the company is definitely committed to the construction of the plant, or a plant, somewhere in America.
If the entire trip mixed business with pleasure, on the eve of the group's departure, the focus was on good times and good food. Dining out at one of the finest restaurants in Paris, Edwards pronounced the trip a success.
Well, it was profitable for the campaign and did raise the money we anticipated, but on the other hand, I think it's going to have continuing dividends for the whole state because meetings with the President of France, the Mayor of Paris, other officials, Renault Corporation, and the goodwill that we have left here, I think is going to serve us well, including, not the least of which, in immediate benefits will be, I think, some stimulated tourism for the World's Expo in New Orleans this year.
Some people back in the United States might have thought that a bunch of Louisianians would be here to party and be loud and all that, and he said they have really impressed the people of France. It's gotten tremendous media coverage over here, and that's part of the ambassador role that a trip like this can play.
The Edwards trip may have provided new publicity for Louisiana and Europe, but as we have seen throughout our travels, for many people in France and Belgium, the mere mention of the word Louisiana means something special.